So, thank you all for coming to our public reading for the Young Writers Project 2026. Um, little claps if we would like. My name is Maggie Garnett. I am an employee here at the Carnegie Center, and I have been coordinator for the Young Writers Project this year and the 2 years previous. It's a really magical program. I love getting to work with these students and getting to be a part of the inspiration and the creative energy that gets built up during this program. Some of you probably already know a lot of the details of the program, but I will give you a little spiel anyway. So the Young Writers Project started in the early 2000s, and it was actually started by Crystal Wilkinson, who is a local literary legend. Many of you know her. She worked at the Carnegie Center and started this program originally for as the Young Women's Writers Project, and in recent years we have changed the language to make it more inclusive. So it's kind of set up to provide opportunities to marginalized writers. So in this case, it's marginalized genders, girls, trans students, non-binary students are all welcome to apply. It's completely free to apply and attend, and there's even some paid elements. So it's a really unique program in that way. It's cool to be able to give these young people an opportunity to get paid for their art, because that's always an awesome feeling. This year, we had 7 creative writing workshops that the students attended, each led by a different local published writer. So the workshops we had this year, our first one was with Samar Jade, who ran a generative workshop about tarot cards and how you can use those and the archetypes in them in your writing process. Next, we had Lucy Oquay, who held a workshop about experimental essay forms, or hermit crab essays, which is where you write a personal narrative or other nonfiction piece in a non-traditional format, like a grocery list or a recipe, a very interesting creative form. Next, we had Noah Ashley Blooms, who taught the students about writing their future. So professionalization, how to apply to graduate programs, how to pursue publication if you're interested in that in the future. Then we had Nita J. Jackson, who taught a poetry workshop that was very timely, inspired by musician and activist Nina Simone, called An Artist's Duty, Poetry and Purpose. Then we had Olivia A. Cole, who channeled George Ella Lyon, another local literary legend, with a workshop called Where I'm From, Writing Our Roots. And finally, we had Allegra Solomon, who wrapped up our workshops this year with one on writing short fiction and the economy of language required to write short pieces. So a really big, diverse array of genres and topics, so that there's something for everybody. And if your student is usually more of a poet, there's something for them to try out fiction. If they're more of a prose writer, there's something to try out poetry. We like to have well-rounded young writers and give them an opportunity to explore a little bit in this program. The last 2 pillars of the program, of course, are this reading today, which I'm so happy to have all of you here to celebrate our young writers who went through these workshops and have done some really awesome work, and have been so fun to work with. And then we will also be doing a mentoring day opportunity where the students get to pass along some of the knowledge they've gained in their workshops this year with a younger generation of writers, usually elementary school age students. They get to do little creative writing activities with them. It's a really fun multi-generational element to the program. So we're really excited to have you all today, and we have our little programs that were in your seats that has our list of readers. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our first reader, and I will come up in between and introduce each of our young writers so they all have their own little spotlight moment. But without further ado, let's go with our first writer of the evening, which is Riley Humphris.
Hello, everyone. I brought a printout to look prepared, but I do have something to read from my phone. One moment, sorry. All right. Hello, my name is Riley. Thank you so much for coming tonight. This is an excerpt from my novella in progress following former cereal box mascot and anti-commie propaganda, Jericho, a tiny purple vampire, as he finds a new purpose in life as a communist after coming back to life in the mid-2020s and being told that the government no longer wants him. There are footnotes in the piece throughout, which I'll try to make obvious enough are footnotes. And it is a satire. Please note. In the very back of the store, past the aisles and aisles of dilapidated candy bars and once-ripe chips, after walking on the top of the once-upon-a-time white tile and getting a whiff of the restroom that hasn't been cleaned properly since at least 1988, once the refrigerators have made their last hums and the coffee machines, both regular and decaf, have cut off after the buzzing lights go dark and the fly that's been hanging around for the past 2 to 3 business days finally reaches the front window but dies before going outside. This was the last living thing to ever reach the Speedy Quick 24/7 mini-mart. There is an office. The owner of the store, old Mr. Hawkins, has finally expired. It was quite a tragic expiration, really. Old Mr. Hawkins had finally saved enough money to go go-karting in Quito in Ecuador with his Anole when Racefacer told him that Anoles weren't allowed in the nearest facilities. This made old Mr. Hawkins jump off the nearest bridge. It was only 5 feet deep. And with no living relatives left, the mini-mart now belongs to the state. The office is small, 4 feet tall by 4 feet wide, and the only thing that really fits in there is a desk, but old Mr. Hawkins made it work. He'd managed to stick a shelf in there somewhere between the time he met his best friend of 60-plus years and divorced his second wife. On the shelf housed memorabilia, a photocopied newspaper printing celebrating the fall of the Berlin Wall, and beneath it, in writing so small and so faint and so old that even the IRS didn't see it when they completed their investigation of old Mr. Hawkins in 2001, is the word jackpot. Actually, because the writing is so small and so faint and so old that even the IRS didn't see it when they completed old Mr. Hawkins' investigation in 2001, it is impossible to tell for sure what the word actually is. But it is definitely in English. It is the only appropriate language, and the most important one at that. Also on that shelf, which is in the office flooding with sticky notes and bills that never got paid, sits a cereal box in all its cardboard glory. The surface of the cardboard is a textured kind of soft, and the corners frayed from decades of sitting on a shelf. A slight hint of mildew swarms the box, despite it never having any contact with any form of liquid, and the school bus yellow of the box has become canary with time. On the front of the box is a small, lavender-shaded vampire, and in the dark office, in the middle of the night, all alone, he grins ecstatically, mouth wide to reveal all his vicious teeth. This is the final box of Jerichos. It is government property once more. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Riley. I remember you telling me about this project during the workshops, and I was fascinated, and you have so far got me hooked, so I'm excited to read the rest someday. All right. Next up, we have the one and only Vi Mullins.
Sorry, I couldn't see you, and now that I do, I'm like, when did you get here? Sorry, she was circling this Carnegie Center for like 30 minutes. Okay, hi, I'm Vi. What's up? I'll be reading a poem called You'll Never Read, but I guess I'm reading it, so. I've never been in love. At least I don't think I have. I say I'm romantic. I think I am. But what really is romance? Oxford states it's a feeling of excitement and mystery associated with love. But once again, the question ponders, what is love? An intense feeling of deep affection? It's a constant loop. What is affection? What is fondness? What is liking? It goes on and on and on. I've had girlfriends who I think I've loved. One of them broke up with me because I didn't tell them that. I guess I didn't want to possibly lie or rush things. I think I might be in love. They don't know it, and I don't plan to tell them how I get butterflies in my stomach when I look at them, or how I already know where I would take them if they ever decided to give me a chance. Records, Bowie, books, fiction, coffee iced, ink stains on our hands and cats in our laps, hidden smiles and holding hands on their tables, laughing at my stupidity and fighting over nonsense, being stubborn while we argue over food. I wish I could just tell you how much I love you. I've never been in love, but I don't know another word to describe the way my heart wants to hammer out of my ribcage, climb out of my skin, and offer itself to you. I trust you more than you could possibly know. And it's crazy because I haven't even known you for that long, but I feel like we're soulmates. And I know if I give you my heart, you could crush it, but I think that's a risk I'm willing to take. You'll never know this poem is about you. Sorry, I don't think I want you to. I've never been good at expressing how I feel, but you make me want to try. You make me want to learn. You make me better. I wonder if you've ever been in love. I wonder if you'll ever be in love with me. Okay, that was a poem you'll never read. This one is called Life is to Write. I wrote it in one of the workshops. I have no clue which one. It was in my notebook though. To live is to write. Living keeps us breathing, but writing keeps us sane and whole. The ink documents of the moves our ancestors made keep records of all the lives that have been lived, an idea of the lives that are to come. The heart needs poetry, the rhyming, the flow, the shape, of words that tell a story. One can always love a person, but to love a piece of art is something few have yet experienced. Pretending to live in a world without art, nothingness. The buildings are blank. Are you going to do something about it? Climb the walls and splash paint of all colors. Maroon, indigo, dandelion. I'm an artist. My pieces do not have to be beautiful. I want them to have an effect on the viewer, positive or negative. Who's to say? Because at last, when I die, I want to leave behind my written heart. Okay. This one is called Cold Dockers. It will probably be my last piece, unless you guys want another one. And I submitted it to GSA, and I got it. Thank you. Yeah, it's called Cold Dockers. It's inspired by Monet's piece. You'll never guess it. Cold Dockers. Black dust filled the air as we kicked our feet from the busy bridge. We watched in awe, some disgust, as the dark stone filled the boats. Our boats, at our docks. A man yells instructions as people walk down the thin wood planks. One wrong move and splash. The sun slowly settled into the comforting darkness the moon offered. We stayed seated, watching as the men light the street lamps one by one, the blazes dancing in the absent wind. Slowly the men left, leaving the boats for another day. I felt my hand being pulled, dragged down to the dark docks, doubting the reason why I was being taken to the stone. I watched as they walked across the wooden tight ropes, waving me to follow, so I do, staring down at the nothingness of liquid below me as I placed one foot in front of the other. Don't fall, you cannot swim. I reached the boat, gaping at my friends while they all began skipping the cold oars across the lake. My hands hover, not wanting to dirty my pale skin. The darkness covers my hands as I throw stones into the lake. We laugh and listen to the sounds of them sinking. A rock slips from my hand, as do I, the water hitting me like a million knives. I feel their hands. I reach, hoping to grasp something besides the darkness. Gasping, I break through the wall between the surface and the lake before sinking back under. No, you are not a rock. Fight, float, do something. I let my body relax, knowing the struggle will only make it worse. The lake's hands grasp me, tracing my body and memorizing the outline, wrapping its hands around my neck to stop my gasps for help or cries of terror. You cannot swim, you haven't before. My tears blend with the lake's joy. Water fills my lung, pushing past my defenseless outer skin and burning the tissue. Coughing, I try and protest, knowing my attempts are futile. Why hadn't you worn a bathing suit, silly girl? The pain ripped through my body, my lungs, my heart. Stop fighting it. I reached into the nothingness, my hope still not gone. The lamp lights are off, child. The lake grabs my flame of hope, of mercy, and kills it in front of me. Please, I'm sorry. We'll go home. We'll behave. Crying, gasping, screaming, I fight the overwhelming urge to give up. Their hands retract. They went back to throwing coal. Say something, you idiot. Don't leave me. My thoughts rush a mile a minute as I feel my body sink down to the floor, joining the coal. Black dust filled the air as I kicked my feet at the bottom of the suffocating lake. Thank you.
Thank you, Vi. That was beautiful. I really loved in the piece you said was from a workshop, something about the heart needs poetry. I was like, I agree. I'm biased, but I agree. All right. Next, we've got the lovely Lillian Mendiondo. I should have asked how to pronounce your name. Is that correct? Lillian Mendiondo.
All right. I have 4 poems. And this first one was actually inspired by the tarot card workshop because when I was looking at the Fool, it made me think a lot of like Icarus, and it's titled "The Merry Fool." Um, he skipped and frolicked through the field, forever light on his feet, and he leapt off the cliffside and spread his wings. Icarus was a dancer. He flapped about, clumsy at first, but soon he began to glide, graceful, and he twirled through the air. Icarus was a dancer. He saw the sun, the stars, the moon, and he saw their cosmic dance. And even as the melting wax burnt his skin and the feathers scattered around him, he watched with a smile and tried his best to join in. Icarus was a dancer. And then my second poem is called A Fact About Sloths. I like sloths. Their faces always look like they're smiling, even when they're in distress. This can lead to problems, especially with tourists, because they want to hold sloths, and they don't know what's bad for the sloths. Sloths have different distress signals than humans, and the ones they have aren't ones we're able to read. You don't know I'm in distress, because, like a sloth, I smile. And then this one is called Dear Moon. I hope this letter finds you full, shining your brightest, but only as a reflection. How are your craters, your seas, your trenches, the terrain that has been so carefully mapped by people who want to know everything? I am doing well. I look out my window and see you every night except the ones when you aren't there. You are beautiful. Tell the stars I said hello. And then my last poem is called Last Dance. It is raining, and it is dark, and it is muddy, and you are there. We are running, and if we fall, our nice clothes will be ruined, and it's so hard to see the tree roots. Earlier, we were laughing, and we were playing cards, and we were spinning around until the concrete came up to meet us, and we didn't scrape our knees. Now, we didn't fall, and our clothes are dripping wet. Now, we are laughing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. It's so cool to see how many different kinds of pieces everybody's writing. You all did the same workshops, but you all have completely different takes on some of the prompts, and it's just really cool. And it's part of what I love about the Young Writers Project. All right, next we have got A. Kelly.
I will be reading a prologue from a book I was working on a few months ago. The premise of the book is pretty much the American Revolution, but a medieval fantasy. Long ago, in the times when Lunara first graced this land, grew the beautiful forest of Zafira. In this land came many new creatures, big and small, dark and light. All the wonders you see today, born into a new beginning. And Etheria is a beautiful village full of life and welcoming faces every day. Until the darkness arose. Out of the ruins of Silvolia, out of the grounds of green spewed poison, and a man of dark ivy in nature, the Lord of Darkness. They say he torments the whole kingdom with his powers, taking everything beautiful within and destroying every last drop of it. He could grow vines that would strangle the mightiest of ogres, thorns that could pierce the toughest of skins. Even the dragons weren't safe from his deadly touch. For the darkness of his gift, the Lord of Darkness crafted a material that is said to turn you into a being of your darkest potential once marked with it. It changes you cold, hateful, even murderous, the worst version of yourself, that you could possibly ever imagine, taking over your soul, turning the purest of hearts into the blackest of stones. Many have tried to find an antidote for this cursed weapon, but to no avail. No one has yet to find a curse, and too many have lost their loved ones or even themselves to the darkness. Transforming these creatures we know as Dark Knights, protectors of the Shadow Abyss who serve under the one and only King of Shadows. However, it is said that in a prophecy, a savior of blue and white shall one day rise against the Lord of Darkness, revoke the will of the darkness, cast it away into the night, freeing all the captives in Lunar and restoring its beauty once again. People will be free. The land will be green again. Until then, we wait for the day to arrive. Thorwald looked back at the full moon with his dark green eyes. The light was always reflecting off his dark purple hair. Have they been found yet, Bubba? The little girl asked. The little girl sat down on her bed. Thorwald turned to her. The people? He shook his head. I'm afraid not. He walked over and sat on in front of her. Though some who have wandered by have said they can still hear them, their warnings, their screams. The little girl cocked her head in curiosity. Like ghosts? Thorwald smiled. Yeah, exactly like ghosts. The girl frowned. I don't like ghosts. They're kind of scary, and they could hurt me. Thorwald smiled. Trust me, princess. None of them will ever harm you. I am sure of that. They won't? She asked. He shook his head. No, because as long as I'm around and you stay hidden behind the village walls, no monster or ghost will ever harm you. The girl gave him a big hug. But soon everything went to darkness. Thorwald woke up in his bed, sweat pouring from his skins. It was nothing but a dream. No, more like a memory.
See what I mean about all the different genres? We've got a fantasy, we've got a satire, we've got all kinds of stuff in between. That is so cool. And you guys are amazing. All right. Now, last but not least, our final reader of the evening, though we do have two others in the cohort who are not able to be here with us today. Our final reader is Cabri Donnelly.
Hi everyone, I'm Cabri Donnelly, and I have a couple pieces to read to you tonight. The first is a poem I wrote before my Scapa Writers Conference, actually like a night before, and about my sister, who is not here again, but anyways, I'll get to reading it. It's called A Cento to the Blonde-Haired, Blue-Eyed Girl. My second house, my first home, I met a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl. I rose with the sun, she followed my rays. Before I could rise again, she had outgrown her crib. A purple room became ours, and soon we outgrew that too. In my third house, second home, we had separate bedrooms, but scared of the dark, we shared a bed between turquoise walls and brown-stained carpet till we outgrew that too. Separated by a wall, we turned our backs on one another. A switch that started absent-mindedly turned to jealousy. We tore glances off of each other's backs, her body, my teeth, her skill, my skin. A glance of what could have been without the existence of the other. A decade of distance begins at the end of shared bunks. We'd fallen out of favor like a nation, random and indefinite. But no matter how old I've grown, I'll never outgrow her. From friends to enemies to my closest ally, we crossed our self-made borders. Third house, a dorm, not a home. We will soon be blockaded by state lines, never to share bunk beds again. The decade distance becomes a lifetime, begging, pleading, unable to move on. I can't let the blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl turn her back again. Thank you. This piece is one that I wrote during one of our sessions. It's a poetic letter, and it is from myself in 50 years, directed to my current self. It's called A Letter of Planted Buds. Dear Cabri, most likely you think we have no power in the future of our landscape. It seems we sought to leave you with nothing but worsened problems and passed down to the next generation. You probably doubt that we are capable of reversing humankind's earthly harms, but I assure you, with prevalent unity and a connection of communal trust, we still have our planet. And like our ancestors, we swim in lakes and neighbor squirrels. Absolutely, there are ice caps left. Absolutely, we have translucent furred beings roaming our poles. I'm saying it wasn't all wilting. There were blooms back then as there are now, vibrantly contagious. And then you plant the buds that bloom in 50 years. Okay, I realized that mine was getting kind of short, so I added this one. It's one that I had to write for my Scapa class. It doesn't really have a title. It's just called a sestina because that is the form it's in. So I'm just going to get started. Compare, contrast, systemic anatomy versus regional. The science of the cavity, so much to memorize. A maze in divisions of 4. Life dependent, but no time left. Hip inferior to the brain superior. To make free from injury or disease. Heal. Why are we so focused on making dogs heal? Maybe it's based on where you are regionally, but here it makes your dog seem superior. When did you last take your dog to the vet? Check for a cavity? Sagittal dividing body into right and left. X-rays of dogs, coronal planes come 4. Paintings divisioned, the ground most 4. Characters brought closer, focused on a heel. Somewhat standing face left. Egyptians made hieroglyphics a universal language, not regional. Images lining the walls, representations from life to rest in a sarcophagus cavity. Burials directly related to the superior. Happy birthday from Coastal Carolina, leaving me feeling superior. Tempting offer from a college in my top 4, but the decision creates a sense of cavity. My brain preparing the need to heal. I couldn't even narrow down my colleges by region, so many decisions left. Most of my options lie to the right, far east. USCD, ranked number 1 in the nation, obviously superior. Far from home, even if qualified by regions, a total of 4. Questioning the amount of time it takes to heal the hole my family will be leaving, a cavity. The dentist wants to take away my cavity, but what if the teeth I have left don't heal? Your mouth inferior to the brain superior, but is 4 to the spine regionally. Okay. And then my final piece is something that I wrote for a friend's research project about how poetry affects mental health. It was basically a free write, but I don't know, I liked it, and it felt like a little happier. I don't think mine were super sad, but I like to end on a happy note. This one is called Bubblegum Tips. A ghostly caution floated the room. Hands of girls laid quietly in their laps. Boys strung high on a clothesline of entitlement. A single index followed by 4 more digits with sparkling bubblegum tips, refusing to be hung out to dry, an answer shot from her shimmering lips. Cutting down the male-dominated line, dragging the attention of the room along with it. Her lopsided curls and full lashes stayed facing the front, refusing to return the glances. Correct. Okay, thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you for ending on a happy note. I like to do that too. We all need a little bit of that energy these days, I feel. Thank you all so much for attending our final reading for the Young Writers Project this year. Thank you to our wonderful students for participating in this program and for hopefully telling your friends, whoever is eligible to be in the program again next year. So if you're not graduating, you are eligible to come back and apply for our next round. We have different workshops every time. You are more than welcome to apply more than once. We've got a couple of repeats this year, and I hope you all have enjoyed this program as much as I have enjoyed running it for you. So one last round of applause.